Okay, hi everybody. So this is the idea for this new assignment. I just want you to make a marble run. So this is a quick marble run that I've created, and I'll walk you through what's going on here, and I'm going to take you through the steps of making the marble move. And then your job is to create something that doesn't exactly look like this. Try to use your imagination and take a look at different marble runs online and decide what you'd like to do. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to open up a recent document and show you what my marble ramp essentially consists of. So I just made a single part here, and if I show you it in this direction, it's an angle of only about 3 degrees. I think that's what I made my angle. So you don't need a very steep a very steep angle at all to get your marble to move. So take that into account first, right? So you don't need to make something like 15 or 20 degrees for that to work. And then I basically made a little groove here. So the marble that I've created is 0.5 inches. So I've made this dimension 0.6. So the marble rather has a diameter of 0.5. So the diameter of this groove, radius of 0.3, so a diameter of 0.6. And then what I've done here is I have the marble coming down. Let me finish going the way through it. Sometimes you're going to have to kind of figure out how you want it. So I cut a couple things out. When you're actually making the design, you'll find that you have little things that you want to fix. So that's what a couple extra of these cuts and extrusions will be. But basically what I have here, and if I look this way at my part and I turn off, or rather I make it so I can see the hidden lines, you'll see that I have a little bit of a slope here. And this is a 3-degree slope. So when I went ahead and decided I wanted to make my marble run, I basically, I'm just, essentially it's a Lego part. I think that's what I actually have mine called. It's marble ramp Lego. And I just sort of snapped them together. All right, so that's the part. And here's the assembly, and the only thing I've added on at the bottom is an additional part, just a cup to catch the marble before it goes away. All right, so I have everything put together here. I'm just using standard mates. Everything here is a bunch of coincident mates. And the last thing, I made this part inside the assembly. That's what this in place constraint is all about, or mate is all about, but you'd probably be easier for you to make it outside of the assembly. Next lab, I'm actually going to talk about how to make parts inside the assembly. And then the only other thing I did was I took the marble here, and the marble has a diameter of 0.5, and I put a concentric mate in. So let me unsuppress that mate. And if you do that, you'll see that the marble can move along here, but we want it to act under gravity. So I'm going to, once I use the concentric mate to kind of get the marble where I want it to be, I'll go here and I will suppress it. All right, so I'm going to create a new motion study here. So actually, let me delete this one, and I'll create a brand new one. So I already have another motion study that I want to show you, but I'm just going to do a new motion study for now. So this is your assembly, and everything's basically running off of gravity. So first things first, make sure you're in your SolidWorks add-ins, that you've turned on SolidWorks Motion, and then go here, you're switching from animation to motion analysis. And then here I'm going to turn on gravity. So if you see the way I'm oriented, Y is up. So when I go to my gravity, I'm going to have to select Y being for the direction of gravity and make sure your little green arrow points downward. And then all the pieces of the marble ramp are going to be a single solid body. So when I go ahead and do my contact, I'm going to use contact groups. And for my blue group, I'm just going to go ahead here and select all the parts of my assembly. And for the other part, I'm just going to come in here and select the marble. All right, so now the only other thing that you're going to want to do before you run the assembly is go here under your motion study properties and just turn up, you don't have to worry about anything else here, but just turn up your frames per second. 100 should most likely work for most of what you're going to do. So I change my frames per second up to 100 and I'm going to say OK. And now once everything's done, oh, and don't forget to come down to your orientation and camera views to right click and disable it, right? It's not gray like this, so disable the playback of view keys, and then if you right click on it again, you'll see that it's grayed out. All right, so then once you've done all of that, you come over here to your calculate icon and click calculate. And the calculation should start. And your marble will run down the ramp. So what I'd like you to do is at least make a marble ramp that will have the marble in motion for at least 5 seconds. Feel free to make it as long as you want, but I do want you to try to make it going for at least 5 seconds. And that's what I'm doing here. But, you know, you can try things like a jump where the marble would leave one bit of it and jump to the next. A loop-de-loop if you feel like doing a sweep of any type. Or you can have it move down a helix if you want to use that. These are all things that you've gone over in Solid Professor. Anything like that. So this is really an idea of making some design. Oh, so look at that. It fell, and it fell right through my bottom because I just put this bottom on, and it's only 1/10 of an inch thick. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to roll myself back. Right. So anytime you do anything to the assembly, make sure you take the time bar and roll it back to 0. Otherwise, what it'll do is any changes that you make will occur at that point forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically, I can do it like this. I can right click on this and I can edit the part outside of the assembly, or I can edit the part inside the assembly. Since I need to just make one small change, I'll edit the part from inside the assembly. Here's the part, and I just made this little extrude before, so let me edit the feature, and I'll make it 0.3. So make sure it's nice and thick so it's not going to run through the part. I'll say OK. Now I'm thinking about it. Did I actually make a mistake when I did my... Nope. I wanted to make sure that that was part of my solid body contact. All right, so let's calculate it one more time. And we'll see if it falls through this time. So you see that it drops down, and it's going to move along here. And let's take a look at it dropping down here into this hole. You see it bounce around a little bit. So we'll let it run down here, and this time we'll look at what happens as it comes into this one. Again, you get a little bit of bouncing around. And let's see if we can actually figure out what's going to happen here when it drops into this one. So there it goes. Manages to bounce around the corner. And there we go. And it stops. So there's my 5 seconds. And then, of course, now I can just hit play. And I have the loop turned on, so it's going to play for 5 seconds, and then it'll just loop back to the beginning and start all over again. All right, so that's the basic idea. All right, so what I'd like to do now is just show you an addition to this assembly that I created just to give you an idea of other things that you can do. So to begin, I have to make 2 modifications to the assembly. I need to modify the last part of the assembly so the marble actually goes all the way through it. And I need to turn on this new part, which I'm calling the funnel. To this extrude. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to suppress it. That's all I needed to do for this one. And I have this other part here that I'm going to call, that's called funnel. And I'm going to unsuppress that. And, well, you can kind of see what's going on here. I got a little ambitious, so I have a little sweep where I have a curve going around, and it comes into a funnel. And it comes out of the bottom and goes into this little pipe and then drops out. So I've run this for 10 seconds now. But other than that, everything else is the same. If I go to my solid body contact, you'll see that all of this is one single body and the marble is another one. So that's the only real change. So let me go ahead and we'll play this now. And you'll see the marble runs through the funnel. Okay, so now you're going to have to submit your work as an assembly this time, so there's a way to do this. We're going to go File, Pack, and Go. So you're going to select this, and you want to include simulation results, and then you will save all this to a zipped folder. And you see it's going to put all these parts into it, so we'll just click Save. So you see down here there's a progress bar. All right, so if we go to my desktop now, it actually ended up in my Lab 9 folder. So if I come in here, you'll see the marble run example.zip, and that is what you will upload to assignment 7. All right, so I hope you have fun with this, and this will be due a week from today, so the end of the day on April 17th.